There's some Revelator songs that I'm like, man, we got to bring those back. But we've done so many songs and albums. There's like so much to choose from that I guess we don't think about it all the time.
You need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Trucks song.
You know, he told me Susan wrote the song, which he was proud of. He said that with great pride, you know, the way you say nice things about your family.
From the first note with Tedeschi Trucks, they just blow you away.
Yes, we will. I wouldn't argue with anyone that says that could be my favorite song on I Am the Moon.
He, signs my ticket, and I look over at Susan. I say, Susan, would you sign it too? And she goes, oh, heck yeah.
Kevin calls me and was like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He was like, Derek wants to record some tuba stuff. I said, when do you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it Wednesday.
It was Midnight Harlem. And it caught our attention, man. And we started diving deep, and we're like, okay, we got to see these guys.
What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 134, and I am Adam Choit. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and on YouTube, just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're watching, you're already there, so please be sure to subscribe, give the show likes, shares, comments. All that stuff is definitely appreciated. I'm at Adam Choit on Twitter and Instagram. If you would like to follow me, definitely give positive reviews on Apple Podcasts. I appreciate all that support. 100%. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com will get you all the necessary links to subscribe and follow the show, and links to TTB's official sites and all that stuff is on there. And I'll get more to that later after the show as well. And re-give all the links, adamchoit.com for all my stuff. TTB has been busy. Derek and Susan have been busy, even if they've been doing these fireside shows, these scaled back versions, if you will. But they've been busy. They were on a cruise. I was trying to get someone from obviously Japan, and the New Orleans cruise recently that they were on. They did, I think, a couple of sets over a couple of nights of I think it was a week-long cruise, and they've been doing some private shows and things. So they claimed that they were going to scale back or slow down, or that it seemed to be looking at the tour schedule that things were slowing down. But things seem to be popping up, gigs of all different kinds and all different venues of all different sizes, opening for the Eagles and doing all kinds of things. But I wanted to recap a couple of shows they did this past week. One in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Was it the Ridgefield Playhouse? I think it's called Ridgefield Playhouse. I think it's like a 500 seat, looks like a high school auditorium in a lot of ways from what I gather. That was a really super small, intimate, amazing show from what I gather, as was last night in Red Bank, New Jersey. And we have returning guest to this podcast, Randy Bershaw, who was at both shows, to recap them for me. I was able to hear the Ridgefield show, which was recorded by, I should look that up and give them credit. I'm going to pull that up, but let's bring in Randy, and we'll get into the recaps. How we doing, my friend?
What's going on, Adam? How's everybody doing?
Oh, good. Welcome back. I appreciate you taking the time and to help me live vicariously through you.
Just for this week. It was a good week in the life and times of my life. Yeah, fun, always fun when you have TDB added to the plate and multiple shows. I was a little kid, middle of the week. Wednesday, I was like, I could barely work during the day, knowing I had a TDB show, which was really impromptu because I didn't find out about it until like the 3 days before that. So it wasn't a lot of a buildup. Whereas the Red Bank, New Jersey show had been on the books for a few weeks now, and my wife was going to come with me, and we had a nice night out, so we knew that was coming. But we didn't know about the Connecticut show, so that was like, oh my God, I have 2 days to buy tickets and get to Ridgefield, Connecticut for the night and come home.
If you're able to even say, how did you even find out about that Ridgefield, Connecticut show? Because from what I understand, it was only accessed, available to be accessed by those who are members of the Ridgefield Playhouse
Right.
seasonal tickets. So how did you even find out that
So
this was even a thing?
I'm up one night, like late at night, I deep dive looking for music, and I'm searching high and low for just maybe some Tedeschi stuff maybe I hadn't seen out there, and I'm really just on this deep dive, and I come across a post of somebody mentioning that they're a member there, and that Tedeschi is going to be playing there. I'm like, wait, what? This I thought it was an old article because I think they've played there in the past. They have.
Yes.
I'm pretty confident. Yeah, so I thought it was an old article, and then I look, and it was 23, and like that a few hours beforehand. So I it was a Sunday. The box office was closed. So I said Monday, first thing I have to figure out. I call the box office and see if this is true. And then my next question is, how do I become a member and also get a ticket for this? So they were like very accommodating. Yeah, we could give you a membership actually for $50. It's normally $120, but we want to get people into the venue, and we've been keeping this quiet all year long, and then you could buy a ticket. So Monday I did both of those things, became a member, proud member now of the Ridgefield Playhouse. Very excited for possible. Gabe Dixon is playing on New Year's Eve there with the Gin Blossoms, oddly enough. So they gave a little playbill, and on the back of it was Gabe Dixon on New Year's Eve there. So I was like, yeah, you find out different things through the experience, right? But very cool, small, tiny. I think high school auditorium is so exaggerated. It was like, my son had a middle school awards thing for sports at a middle school recently around here. And that middle school auditorium was twice the size of this thing. It was small, really small.
The one phrase that I did hear you say that I thought was interesting, and if you have it correctly, it's particularly interesting, is that the box office said that we've been keeping this under wraps or haven't mentioned this for a year. So it sounds like this was something that was
through the year, but they definitely made it sound like it had been months in the making, and that they hadn't even, their members didn't know who it was. They knew it was good. They were getting somebody big there, but they didn't know who it was. And they got Tedeschi. So yeah. Subsequently, I've been trying to get Bobby to get the band to play at a local Theater 3 that holds about 300 people in town by where I live. I don't think I'm going to be successful, but if they're going to play places like that, I asked them why they can't play, my town.
I think if you meet their number and the scheduling and the locations all work out, it seems like there's incentive and interest with the band to, like I was kind of saying in the intros, it's like play all different kinds of shows. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more pricey for a private gig or secretive gig,
exactly,
or several hundred seat theater gig.
Yeah, I think they held 400, and I think they only sold 300 seats, which was like their sellout. They didn't, they like, I don't know why there's certain seats weren't for sale that were still like would have been very fine seats that I don't know if they would call not great vision, but any person who's been to a lot of concerts would have been more than happy with any of these seats. But so I think there was about 300 people there, and really, really tiny. And I didn't know what to kind of expect. I've never seen them in a setting that small. So the crowd was standing from inception. They came on, I think it was a 7:30 show. They came on at 7:34. Okay, so really, really quick on, and everyone was standing. I didn't know what to expect. The members, if they even liked the band, or if they just like, well, we got to go to this event. It was like it was different for sure. But everybody was like, I wouldn't say it was the most energetic crowd, but everyone was standing, having fun, and bopping to the music. And you could tell, obviously, the people like myself who had traveled to come, wherever they're close.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, could you very easily identify who was there specifically for TTP versus like who was members? What was the distinction?
Distinction was like, you could tell like maybe people were in the, like, there was this middle area where everyone's hanging out, having drinks. There's Christmas trees up this time of year, and like, maybe doing that in lieu of going into the auditorium to listen to the music. maybe with one sign.
Right.
Right. But yeah, no, otherwise it was like I thought I've been to many of shows, and I thought this year, I thought this crowd was pretty cool, considering it was like really small, and I didn't know how the sound was going to be in there, because it really was like a middle school. I can't emphasize enough. Like, so Red Bank was like so different than that. Even it was like Red Bank was like a normal music hall, still tiny, but like this was really like you're going to see your kid, and play, and instead it's Derek Trucks playing the guitar, and Susan Tedeschi and the other four amazing musicians that are so close to you. I mean, the access is outrageous. You could hear everything, and I'm not quiet, so I'm yelling like, "Happy belated birthday, Sue!" And she's like nods, because it's like us having this conversation here, Adam. Like this here, that level of like intimacy.
I'll go back and listen to the fan recording and see if
You'll
I
hear
can.
me at one point. I listened to the one the other day. I listened to the one the other day that's on archive, right? And at one point Susan says to the crowd, she goes, "How's everybody doing?" And you hear my big mouth go, "How you doing, Sue?" Like, like, and I'm like, Jesus, like, I'm listening to the crowd, but it was so tiny in there that you really could pick up everything.
Do I have the correct image pulled up of what it looks like? Is that
yeah, you do. Yeah. It's that's it. And then there's a balcony, which I didn't really, other than turning around and seeing, because I was on the orchestra maybe like 6-7 rows up, and the balcony looked nice. It looked like a micro version of the Capitol Theater. When there's no seats over there, but like 100 other theaters you've been to, but like so small from side to side. There was no width to the place at all.
Yeah, this is super duper intimate venue. I want to share some photos. Ben Zimmerman and Regina Lembo posted these in some of the fan groups on Facebook. So I want to see if I could find some of those photos, because this is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Correct, with that blue backdrop.
Exactly, right. And like, I mean, it feels almost like you're like, okay, what is this? The Beatles on Ed Sullivan show?
Right. It looks. That's what I was thinking. It looks almost like a television appearance or
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, when I seen the videos of it, it was and being there, I shot a bunch of videos myself, and looking back at them, it's strange, because you could see how small it is and narrow. And like I said, I've been to 30 Tedeschi shows, and never have any been 500 people or less. It was just really small.
Yeah, and something about just the stage setup and looking at the theater, the way the auditorium vibe, it just has it's like even more intimate because of this unique setting versus just being close up at a regular show. It's like
right, and the difference.
This feels like a living room.
You nailed it, Adam, because yesterday for Red Bank, we were as close as you can be. It would have been what would have been the second row, right? But there's like that gap between the stage and where the people are, at a normal venue. There's a little like room where photographer will stand, right, where Bradley
where security stands and yells at me.
This was at an auditorium where it's like, it's like right there on stage, I could have just started grabbing the equipment and been like, you're not playing with your speakers tonight. There, like, it's just like so ridiculous. Like, it's just so crazy how close you were to everything. There was no fit buffer at all.
And also, I wonder, I don't know what security is normally like at this venue, but something about it being a members show, it's like there's just a certain probably vibe of trust and familiarity amongst everyone, just that whole vibe. And that probably lends itself to like, a chill atmosphere and an intimate atmosphere where people can get close to the stage and the van, and no one's going to hassle them. It sounds like.
No, you have like, me, you could hear me in the crowd and a few other people that are like, a little boisterous and, getting excited for the band members after they've crushed the solo, Falcon or something. But
yeah, all the people I know are the ones making all the ruckus at the show.
All the people you have on your show.
Right, exactly. Cool. Should we get into the set list a little bit, and we could talk about some highlights or whatever jumps out at you? We don't have to.
Yeah.
Go in order.
It was definitely. It was cool because it was these Fireside shows definitely now in retrospect were the set lists were so different than what they've been doing over the course of 2023.
Yeah, we got my mojo working. Do I look worried? Gravity, smoke ring, halo. Where are my friends? Done somebody wrong. I'm the moon. How blue can you get? Anyhow, bell bottom blues. Why does love gotta be so sad? Midnight in Harlem feels so bad. I want more into Bex Bolero to finish out the set, and then it's the encore. I can't make you love me and get what you deserve. Yeah, tell me about the I guess the Fireside feel to it with this. It's 6, it's 5. What is the exact lineup?
6. So Falcon, Brandon, you got Mike, Derek, Sue, and Gabe. So no horns and no backup singers, Alicia and Mark. So you got
and no Isaac
and one drummer. And I
right.
And that's what they've been doing with the Fireside. I wasn't sure if like at some point, right, like people get sick or take breaks or have family obligations. I wasn't sure if like at one point maybe Isaac's going to jump in and maybe Falcon won't do some of the Fireside and or a different combo. But it seems to be the combo they've been going to with the Fireside.
I guess there's probably like, I don't know that maybe this has probably been revealed in some interviews, written or whatever. Otherwise, like what the specific motivations are to do the fires. Obviously, it could be a little bit more cost effective in terms of like you don't have to pay everyone and have as much. It's just less.
I was thinking about all that as well, Adam, and I think you're exactly right with that one point. But I think honestly, after going to both those shows this week, they literally couldn't have fit on the stage of these places. So if they already had the venue marked out, then literally they couldn't get 12 members on the stage. So logistics alone, they just wasn't enough room.
Yeah, Michael Belloli says it seems like they were testing out some things. I guess maybe some different lineups and some getting some other songs back into the set list and whatnot. Yeah, no, it's cool to it's probably cool for them to try something different. They do kind of things like this during their normal shows. They have obviously different combinations of lineups out there.
So yeah, it was Mojo right off the bat was really cool because it's really energetic and it gets the crowd, and that's what I was like kind of curious what the crowd was going to be like. I am in the thought of audience of standing and opposed to sitting, so I was curious as what most of the crowd would be doing. I couldn't tell you what the seat felt like at the place at in Ridgefield because I never sat down once. Everyone was standing from inception, and then they just, even if they weren't like so into the music, they just remained standing in the orchestra for the entire show. So of course I naturally would do that anyhow, but I did the same. And then if everybody's sitting, sometimes obviously I'll take a seat because you kind of feel like the elephant in the room if you're the only one standing.
It certainly happened. I've certainly been there.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fine. Is that what we're doing right now?
Yeah. Forcing your hand. Yeah. Yeah. Which is okay. I mean, sometimes maybe the needed break. But I that's why I love the GA. So yeah, yesterday in Red Bank was GA. I know obviously everybody's standing in GA, so I'm not going to upset anybody, by me doing so the whole time.
Right.
So yeah, so they started off with Mojo. It was really energetic. It was cool. Do I Look Worried? I thought was one of the best songs of the night. They just crushed it, as Derek always does on his solo in that song, and it was just really good. I hadn't heard Gravity in a few shows, maybe 4 or 5 shows in a row. I hadn't heard Gravity, so that was awesome. Smoke Ring, Halo, I feel like I haven't heard in years. So that's a Wood Brothers song, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
I believe so.
They did that, and I was like, okay, that's cool, that's different. I'm at a lot of shows, and I hadn't really seen that, which is for me also nice. I love all the Eye of the Moon. I love everything they do, right? But I love then hearing obviously different songs. So these 2 shows are really cool in that regard. You really got they went back to some older stuff. I think in Red Bank last night, we'll look at the set list afterwards, but I don't think they did one Eye in the Moon song in Red Bank, which
that's what someone else mentioned.
Yeah, has to be rare for this year, right? Like just with their where they've been.
It's a testament to them that they like. What other band would even? I can't imagine another band being able to do something or even wanting to do something like that, or or being affording to be able to do something like that. Whereas you put out a new album, they put it out in what? I guess it's been a couple of years at this point. They put it out
a year.
in
Last August was like the start, right? And then they started releasing them. So you have a year.
Oh, was it 2022 they put out? Or was it they all blended together?
Yeah, now you got me guessing. I think it was that last year? Yeah, I think it was last year.
Yeah, it was let's see here, 2022. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was last. So
you could have sold me on 21 easy though.
Well, they probably started playing some of the songs, or maybe the Fireside sessions, that that those came out, the video series. That might have I think those were the year before, I believe, or maybe earlier that year. I forget. They all blend. It does say recorded 2021, 22 for the I Am the Moon album itself. But the fact that they have had a whole new quadruple album of 24 songs or whatever it is come out within 14 months, and they're like, nah, we don't need to play any of that tonight. That stuff's old. We'll
go back to the roots tonight of and people were loving it. I have to say, I feel like especially last night, some of the older fans were really older meaning long time. They were really loving the set list last night, because it was really it was a lot of their older stuff, and like I said, nothing from I Am the Moon, which I loved, because I've heard the stuff from I Am the Moon all the time. So even 2 nights before that, right, as we go down the list, Where Are My Friends was from I Am the Moon they played, which all these were really good in Ridgefield. But you start hearing them a lot. You hear them a lot. So I thought it was really cool to get a mixed bag in Red Bank. The Done Somebody Wrong that first night was incredible. That was up there for my favorite song of the night also. Really good.
That always rocks. Yeah. Michael here says they have a history with Ridgefield Playhouse. They played there in the early days, and also when it was Derek Trucks band and Susan's band. It's funny because I was about to mention, I think I mentioned this before, my parents actually were at the Ridgefield Playhouse not that long ago to see, I think it was Joss Stone, and they were in the lobby of the Playhouse, and they saw a picture of Derek and Susan and on the wall. And of course, my mom texted it to me and all that. So yeah, I don't know if you saw that particular picture, but they do have a photo of it.
I saw that, and then I thought about that, Adam, when I was in there. I didn't see the picture of Derek and Susan, honestly, but I thought of I remember you putting something. I'm like, somebody's been to Ridgefield recently, where I know it's like on the forefront of my brain, but I couldn't figure out where. And then I thought it was you saying that your parents were there of some sort.
Yeah, it sounds like just such a super intimate. Yeah, intimate's the word I keep coming back to. Like, special place to see a show. Almost like, I can't speak from experience, but just the way it's almost like talked about in these circles is in Nashville, the
Ryman Auditorium.
Ryman, yeah. I imagine Ridgefield almost has. It's not a church, and doesn't maybe quite.
It's really different in that regard, because obviously the Ryman is just so much the history. I'm sure the Ridgefield too. And I was looking around at all the pictures. There were a lot of pictures. I didn't see the Susan and Derek one, but I was looking at some of the other stuff on the wall, and they get good talent in there. And there are a bunch of upcoming shows I was looking at. Now that I'm a member, I'm like, maybe it's only 2 hours from my house. I said maybe we run up there for. I saw a Preservation Jazz Hall, jazz bands doing like a Christmas special up there, and they do some cool stuff over there for sure.
Built in 1938.
Wow,
500 seats, 500 capacity.
Yeah, really, really nice complex, and the whole area, like, it was like nobody like looking at your ticket, or even, it was so weird. Like, at one point I went outside and I said to them, like, I obviously could come back in, right? And they said, yeah, just knock on the door. I said, knock
your house?
I said, knock on the door. We at my elementary school. You guys gonna let me back? Like, it was just such a funny statement. Like, just knock on the door, and if not the window, and we'll come grab you back in.
They're like a latchkey kids at the venue, something like that.
Yeah, it was cool, really cool spot setting to see them in. Anyhow, really weird a little bit with the no horns.
Yeah, I there are some times where I'm listening back. Yasi Pollock, I don't know if I mentioned the names. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. Thank you for recording this show. But listening back, obviously we love the band and all the songs are awesome, and it's been fun to anytime I do something like this to hear on what I describe as like a skeleton version of these songs where you're getting only the essentials, the bare bones. But there are certain moments where I'll literally say out loud, "Horns?" ? Horns?
I missed it, Adam.
Horns?
I did. I missed it a little bit on some songs. Like "I Am the Moon," there was no backup singers, so it was like that whole like
outro. Yeah.
It was a little bit. It wasn't. I mean, I loved it, but given the choice, I'll take the horns in anyhow, and I'll take the backup singers in "I Am the Moon."
The way "I Am the Moon" ended, it had almost a little bit more of like an eerie kind of quality, not good or bad, but like more of like almost like an eerie kind of like ending to it. I'm not finding the right word to describe it or words to describe it. Verse says when the normal outro, I suppose, for "I Am the Moon" is just utterly super duper powerful, and that's aside from Derek's solos, which are always amazing. But when you get the background vocals and you got all 12 up there, it's just just
and like so with anyhow where normally the big horn section that Derek would play it on the guitar, and it was good, but it was like really missing Elizabeth here. Like I could I just it was a few times I had that thought to myself was I'm missing I love the horn, I love them all. So
I love this, and I've loved all 12. It's like it all makes you appreciate both.
And what I kept,
you
appreciate what you're hearing.
You appreciate what you're hearing, but you also appreciate what you're missing. Like I don't know.
So I kept coming back to was, Randy, you've heard the horns at 14 other shows this year.
Right.
You're okay without the horns tonight. You'll live. And it's absolutely right. And then you get the other side of the which is like you never see them without that. So it is so different. And I think you described it excellently with the bare bones, because it is like just the essential pieces, but it does make you realize how much you love the extra that a lot of bands don't have. That's where I think separates them big time, is they don't have that 3-piece horn section. They don't have 3 backup singers to do everything that they do, which to me is like really a lot of their power and comes from there.
And it makes for, I'm guessing you could speak to this, is that, you get a different viewing experience when you're not seeing all 12 members. Cause, especially if you're maybe even more up close, like besides an obscured view aside, it's that you can't look at everybody. I find myself just panning around, or, depending on what part of the song is, you might focus on this person or that person. But it is like a challenge in some regard to follow and look at everyone and take in. There's so much stimuli, visual, beyond just what you're hearing. So is it a little bit more it's easier to see everyone on the stage?
It's simpler because there's half the band and your head's not as much on a swivel. So I do like to see, and we do usually try to be very close. So I do like to see them in their craft. Like, to me, it's crazy how amazingly close, and you could watch their facial expressions. So like last night in Red Bank, I would say I've never watched Brandon as much as I watched Brandon, because we were so close. Everyone, though, I mean, there's only 6 of them, but we were standing basically right in front of Brandon and right in front of where Mike stands and where he sings. And it was such access to the like facial expressions. And you've seen Stu and Derek on all the pictures 100 times, right? And you see in the videos, everyone focuses, the camera naturally on them for a lot of the show. This was like, wow. I was watching Brandon a ton, and just watching this guy destroy the bass all night long in his fresh J's and some cool Jordans on. And he's just a cool dude. He looks like he has a good time out there.
Yeah. No, It's just super, super good experience. Sounds like, for sure. Michael Belloli says, I got the chance to meet up with the band afterwards at the bar. So got some cool color. Sue was awesome. You're welcome to come on to join the conversation if you'd like to talk about the show and your night and all that too. Let me know. I could try to message you on Facebook or something. I think I saw you posting about it. What does Bob Ozzy say here? Funny, I thought it was being in general admission, but I think it was missing the rest of the band. I think he was missing the rest of the band. I don't know. We're all missing the band. How do I add this? There we go. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys chiming in and talking about your experiences. Let's see if maybe I can get Michael on here. Let me see if he's on Facebook here. What else about this set jumps out at you? Midnight. I'm like on a reinvigorated Midnight in Harlem. Not that I was ever off Midnight in Harlem,
Right.
but often it was maybe the last track that I would listen to when you'd hear a show come out for whatever reason. I mean, I don't know. You have to be almost sometimes in the right mood to listen to some of these songs because they're very emotionally heavy. Like I'm not always emotionally prepared to listen to in Midnight in Harlem or I Can't Make You Love Me. But if I'm going to the gym, I might want to pop on and done somebody wrong and get the blood flowing or something like that. So it does affect my Tedeschi Trucks song choices from time to time. But I do, of course, want to get around to listening to everything. Yeah, but you can tell me a little bit more if there's anything else.
Yeah, well, it was cool. I mean, him doing the 2 Clapton songs in a row was not surprising at all, especially in that like venue at the Ridgefield. I thought like, you know, maybe the members that don't know Tedeschi would know obviously some Clapton, and that was cool. And then Midnight. So I feel like I might be in that boat you were in, Adam, which is a little while back, which is it probably is the last song I've been listening to when it's a replay of late. Love it. Just in one of those mind frames of late where it's not the first one I'm listening to after the recording comes out the night before somewhere. But, you know, with that being said, I probably only hear it once a day, you know, instead of some of the other songs that may, you know, pop through my feed at sometimes. They actually didn't do I Can't Make You Love Me in the encore. They just did Get What You Deserve. So I don't know if they were running. I can't imagine they were running short on
that's
time.
Right. That's right. I remember seeing on the arcade door, it goes straight from that to that. Yeah, possible.
And so it was weird. I texted one of my buddies because after the show was over, it was so close, and I was talking to Bobby. Bobby grew up like 10 minutes from where I live and where I grew up. So I was bullshitting a little bit with Bobby about the town. And, you know, like I said, I was trying to broker this deal. I'm trying to get him to play, you know, local town by us. So we were shooting the shit for a few minutes. And then they, you know, I asked him, I was like, you know, do you remember you gave me the slide in Red Rocks? And he was like, you know, I honestly don't remember you per se, but I remember the situation because I told you it was like, I was yelling, Bobby. And he's like, what do you want? I was like, my kids want this slide, you know, Christmas ornament. So he remembered the situation. So I was like, you know, do you have any chance you have like a Susan pick? You know, so he's like, yeah, absolutely. You know, hit me with a Susan pick, which is cool because I'm like a child. Like these souvenirs leaving the place, I'm, you know, my feet are barely touching the ground. I'm like the happiest kid on Christmas morning is the best way to describe it. And
it never gets old.
It doesn't get old. I got a set list. It doesn't get old. It was really cool. Bobby's just really cool dude. And so yeah, it's just it was such a small place that I was like talking to him like, you know, not hard to hear me and everything like that. You're like, you know, basically a regular conversation. He's you know, he's getting everything geared up, but he's looking back and we're just, you know, we're just bullshitting for a little bit. I Want More Bex Bolero was awesome. That was really good energy before the encore. And I hadn't heard Get What You Deserve in a bunch of shows, which was great way to finish it out. But my point was, so after I exchanged with Bobby, I go to my car. I sent my buddy a picture of the set list, and I sent him the picture of the pick. And he's like, "Yeah, the show's over already?" So I go, "Yeah." He goes, "How long did they play?" I said, 2 hours. They came on at 7:35, and it was 9:35. And he was like, "It's like, dude, you're gonna be home by midnight." I'm like, "Dude, Michael, I'm gonna be home by 11:30." You know, like I'm not. It's not midnight. I'm getting home before midnight. And I did. I pulled in my driveway at 11:30. It's 2 hour ride from Ridgefield to where I'm at. And but it was quick. They started really quick. They played 2 hours, no set break, and they finished. And it was like, so when they didn't do when I saw the set list and they didn't do I Can't Make You Love Me, I'm like, I can't imagine it was time. I mean, it was early. It was 9:30 in the evening. Most shows don't start until then.
And there was no opener or anything, right?
No. So it was done, just like quick. It's a quick Same thing last night. I think I saw one person put on the app right today. I think I saw it was like, I loved everything, but it could have been a little longer. And
we always want more.
And I agree. It was just quick, and not even that. Like, okay, 2 hours isn't enough, because 2 hours is your typical Tedeschi set, right? So when they do the summer Wheels of Soul, right, it's 2 hours. But it just felt like it was a fast 2 hours. And it was just, again, early in the night where I'm like, I got another hour to give. You guys can keep rocking out here, you know? But yeah, it was early.
And this was the most intimate venue you've ever seen them in, but you've been up close lots of times.
I've been up close, more times than not, but never in like the small setting. And it was the closest, and I keep saying that, because at Santander, I was like in the second row. And, the Ryman, lucky enough, one of the fan members, couldn't make it and sold me his ticket. It was in the first row at the Ryman, right? So I said, I've never been to the Ryman before. Might as well, try to get that experience with Tedeschi. And so every time I keep saying, like, this is the closest I've ever been to them. And then last night when my wife went, she said, this is the closest we've ever been. And I go, I feel like besides Wednesday, you're right. But then, it's like, yeah, every time out is just like, what's next? I don't think they're going to let me sit on the stage while they play. So it's really cool, really, really awesome in a small setting like that, to be that close, like I said, and watching them all in their craft. There, to me, that's like, it's everything at the show, because it's like they're crushing it, and you see the facial expression, you see the sweat, you see the string break. So it's not like, oh, did Derek just break a string? It's like, you could literally, with your eyes, if you were watching it, you see the string break while he's playing. It's crazy.
That's super cool. And I think this may be a perfect transition, because I am going to bring in here Mike Belloli. He'll let me know if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly. I'm sure, because he was at, I believe, that this Ridgefield show as well, it sounds like, and perhaps even the Renbank one as well. But he had a chance to actually hang out with the band. So you can continue the chronology of the evening. So let's bring in Mike. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, nice to connect. Thank you for joining me. We're meeting for the first time right here live stream. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Very cool. So you were at the Connecticut
So I was
show.
at the Ridgefield show. I live like 10 minutes away. And I heard what you guys were saying before. They kept it under wraps until like Monday. And, we could talk about the band, and I was pretty close too. I was at, I was like, I don't know, 9 rows back. And yeah, I was looking around the place. It looks like, like a mini Capitol or mini Beacon, but tiny. And before the Cap came, the Cap was like famous back in like, I don't know, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then it fell to pieces, and they redid it and came out in like 2013, 14. But before the Cap, the Cap draws, Phil and Warren, and they have a great lineup at the Cap. Good jam band scene over there. But Ridgefield used to get all those guys. That was like their Connecticut stop. And I think for Derek, I saw the Derek Trucks band there a couple times. I saw, in the mid 2000s. I saw. So I think they're friends with the owners, and the owners probably gave them a call. And, and I said that, and again, I could tell you the story about how I randomly met, got to hang out in the bar with it was like 15 people in the band. And Sue and her brother were there, or Sue's brother was there. And I was actually talking to him, not knowing who he was before they showed up. And so she obviously came over right away, and I'm like, holy crap, you're her brother, and it was just really cool. And so I think I've heard she's amazing just to hang out with. But I think because her brother was there, she probably let her guard down a little bit. And we just stayed there. We was hanging out with them till like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. I wanted to go back because I wanted to ask you, because we're just connecting now. How long have you been? Obviously, you're already talking about Derek Trucks band and Susan's solo career. But how far do you go back with Susan and Derek, and how did you get connected to TV? What's your musical background a little bit?
I professed my love to Susan, to my wife. The first time I saw her with the Allman Brothers, maybe 2004.
Were you? Oh, okay. I was going to say, were you there the night Derek and Susan met or something like that?
No,
that's a few years later.
She and actually I wanted to, it was, I'd seen them in the 90s with Dickie and, but I really kind of, one of my buddies just was like, you got to see this kid who's playing with them, Derek Truck, and it was amazing. And, I just fell for them. I think she played Voodoo Woman and The Wait or something like that. And I was like, who is that? And everyone's like, that's his wife. And I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. So that was kind of how I started with them. And I just kind of became addicted to them. I just, I went to, living in Connecticut, working in New York, I got a chance to, I would go to the Beacon Run all the time. And then, and then they play these little shows in their individual bands. I'm also a huge Mule fan, and every Warren Haynes kind of combination, and, the different versions of the Dead and whoever, but, it was the Allmans that kind of did it for me. And, Tedeschi Trucks really carried that on. And, I've seen them. I mean, I know there are probably people who have seen them more than me, but I see them a good 2, 3, 4 times a year. Whenever they can. I miss the Garden. I miss the, but I'm always getting tickets and seem like I'm selling them. But I think their music is. I think they're the best band out there by far right now.
I agree.
I said to her, I'm like. And again, she was so personal. It was like talking to just a regular person. I'm like, so you guys, I was like, you guys, I thought this was supposed to be your rest period. I think, and I said, you guys, well, I'm sure you two know the story that the reason why they did the Garden parties was because the band was overworked. And they said, the band is tired. They have young, everyone has young families, and they're tired of being on the road 200 days a year. So they said, I think they said every other year they're going to condense the New York and Boston shows into Garden parties. That's what they're looking at now. So I think that's also why they, have that smaller band. Like maybe the rest of the band doesn't. And I also think you're right. It's a cost thing. But it was funny. So I said to her, I'm like, you guys are working hard. And she's like, you know what? We were in Japan, had that scheduled. And I think they, she's like, our management, threw, I think the Ridgefield show at them, or, and she's like, they threw a few shows at us. So, and I guess they do a lot of private events too. And then the Eagles called, and she's like, of course we were going to do that show. And, her story behind that again was awesome. I'm like, all right, so do you get starstruck? I was really surprised. And I'm like, all the Tedeschi Trucks fan pages were kind of rooting for you guys to actually play with them. And they're like, what? We were thinking that, but I think, because we didn't have any time to plan. But, she's like, so I was like, so you get starstruck? She's like, yeah, we were really that was really special. She's like, but we were kind of jet lagged we were still kind of getting our whereabouts from Japan. These were shows we were not planning, so we didn't get to go home, and then she said, the three of them came up, Joe Walsh, Don Henley, and Vince Gill. And we're talking to us, and they're like, oh, we love your music. And then she's like, well, Derek's known Joe for a long time. Because I've seen pictures of Derek with Joe Walsh when he was a kid. And Joe, and she said, and Dwayne taught Joe how to play slide when they were, fucking around back in the 70s, So, Joe always kind of was like, he owes his slide ability to Dwayne. So naturally, when Derek comes up, he kind of felt, kind of brought him in. And then she said that she's played with Vince Gill a bunch of times. Back when she was starting out in the Willie Nelson, like they're both really good friends with Willie. So she's like, oh, we've played at different Willie events. And what does he do? He does the Farm Aid. So she's like, so Vince and I have played a bunch of times together. So, but, it's like, we'd never really hung out with Don Henley. So I was like, so I just kind of rolled that into like, all right, so who would you get starstruck by? And she was like, I don't know. She's like, we get to hang out with some pretty cool people. And then we get to hang out with some not so cool people. So then I was like, who are your favorites? Like Willie's been number one, top, nicest person to them. And then I threw in there, I'm like, and BB and Buddy, she's like, I love those guys. And so it was just cool. Just, like I was talking to, my buddy's wife, that, and if you guys will allow me to give you guys a pretty funny story. This was the highlight of my night. So somehow Kid Rock's name came up, and I said, what's up with Kid Rock when Kid Rock played with the Almonds? She's like, Kid Rock's never played with the Almonds. I'm like, yes, she did. They did. He did in 2009 when it was their 40th anniversary, and they had a whole bunch of guests. She's like, there's no way Kid Rock.
It was at a show, or was like opening for him? Like what was played with mean? Like
in 2009, it was the Almonds' 40th anniversary, and their Beacon run, they had a ton of guests. Every night they had 2-3 guests. Like I saw John Popper with them. I saw Clapton. Actually, I wasn't at the concert, but Clapton was there. You name it, they had. And somehow, Kid Rock shows up, and they did. And I said to her, I said, so he sang "Can't You See" with them.
I see that on YouTube.
And I was like, it was like a weird. So she's like, no, there's no way Kid Rock, and she's a little more progressive, and he's very conservative. So she was almost getting upset about it. I'm like, I have videos of it. I've seen it, and so she was so sure of it. I was like, I don't know. Go ask your husband who's sitting at the table down 10 feet away. And she's like, I'm like, I bet you $100 that. So she's kind of like joking. And again, hanging out with her brother and me. And like, they kind of brought me into their little family. And so she goes over to Derek, and I just see him like, yeah, I did, I played with him. And so I walked over there, and I kind of was like, yeah, so, and like other people was like, oh, looks like you won your bet. I guess she must have walked over and said, oh, this guy at the bar just bet me $100. So sure enough, she kind of gives me a slap on my shoulder, and she's like, damn. She's like, and then I was like, yeah, can't you see? And she's like, and she looked at Derek, like, you let him play Marshall Tucker? And this is the only conversation I was able to have with him. He's like, I stood on the other side of the stage, and there is no video or picture proof that I was on stage with him at the same time. I actually went back and looked at the video, and I guess there was I don't know who the harmonica player was, but so it was Warren, Kid Rock, harmonica player, and Derek was like hiding behind O'Teal. So I guess it was just a really funny moment. So we walked back to kind of where her brother and brother's friend was sitting. And she goes to her bag. She's like, all right, I guess I owe you $100. I'm like, stop. You don't have to pay me $100. She's like rifling through her bag. She finds like a 20, and she's like, shit, I only have $20. And she goes to her brother. So you got any money? She's like, I'm not giving you any money to pay this stupid bet. I'm like, stop. You don't have to pay me. She's like, I'll go ask her.
Buy you a drink. Just buy you a drink or something.
Well, that's what I said. I said, you know what? Yeah. So she stuffed like the $20 into my pocket, and she goes, she's like, I was like, just take a picture with me, and then you can buy me my next round. So
it's like when the baseball player loses the bat into the stance, but the bat isn't it is still usable, not damaged. They work out a trade scenario. You're working out some kind of trade scenario. I don't know if you shot high enough. Go back. What did you say you went for?
I just a picture and another drink. But it was really just like, laughing. And then, I'm like, so it turns out I know the Allman Brothers set list better than you did, huh? And she's like, Josh, shut up. You know, it was just really funny.
That's what I was going to comment on is that, like, first of all, politics were not as polarizing in 2009. So that's a whole nother can of worms. But like, she was busy with her life and her career, her own solo career up until that point. TTB hadn't really formed yet. So
and they had little kids.
Yeah, and so it would make sense. Like, obviously, she's knowledgeable about Allman Brothers, but may not know every single detail about every single thing. Because even when, like, you think, oh, Derek grew up with this, so he knows all the music. But I remember Alan Paul. He always mentions on interviews that how the journalist who wrote the book about the Allman Brothers, that when he met Derek and Derek joined the Allman Brothers, that Derek's asking other people about the Allman Brothers, because he just doesn't know as much as like a journalist or even just like a lot of fans. Like, a lot of fans are following like all this music, so even you'd think Susan, like a pro musician in that world, is going to know every detail about every little thing. But she's not she has her own thing to focus on. So us fans are like the crazy people who know every factoid and nerd.
Well, that's
fact who played with who on which date.
That was what was kind of cool, is that I think, it was like almost unspoken, and they weren't like, I guess because of this scenario, but I've heard other people say the same thing, that they're just so freaking cool, the two of them.
It's a great fame to claim. You could start telling people, like, I want a music trivia against Susan Tedeschi.
Against Susan about the Allman Brothers.
This would be on my daily repertoire of talk.
Yeah, we're losing Michael there. Are we losing him here? Get him back in here. I can get him back in here. But what was I going to say? No, but just thinking about this relationship that Randy, you still there? Are you frozen?
I'm good.
You're still there. Oh, that's good. But this is rare that we have this access and this intimacy, and it's not always the same at every show, and things may be changing. Obviously, they're playing some bigger venues and higher profile gigs. But just when when one has a chance to say hello and then share a couple of words with Derek, Susan, or anyone in the band, it is a very unusual down to earthiness that they have that other, musicians and you just don't get that with other people.
They're very approachable.
Right.
I met them in Florida, at the band center, Fort Myers, and they were amazing. Like, definitely not didn't know what to expect, but they were well nicer than I thought, like, celebrities would be.
I wanted to ask him, hopefully we'll get Michael back in, because I wanted to ask him because it sounded like he's been following the band for so long and he's been to so many shows, but maybe this recent interaction was like his first actual, because there's fans like that who've gone to like 20, 30, 40, 50 shows who are like, yeah, I haven't met Derek. I haven't said anything. I just, I never seen him. I'm like, you've been to 50 shows and you never said,
right,
thank you for the music, or like, can I take a picture with you, or like ask for, obviously people, obviously me and you, we get, fans ask for set list slides, things like that. But it's like, yeah, I've been to 60 shows, but you never met him. Just here for the music.
Go about their business afterwards, Adam. I can't separate the two that easy.
Yeah, no, I sometimes I don't even know what I really want, and then all it is just to get closer to the band, and I don't even really know what that means. I don't even think of what that means. Does that mean literally standing closer? What does that mean? Whatever, I don't know, just whatever. I don't even have to specify. Whatever the universe presents itself for us in terms of just like opportunity that we'd be lucky to get,
Yeah.
In terms of access to music. Let's get into the next the next show. I'm moving the train along slowly here.
All good. I'm looking at the next show because now it's been a full weekend. I'm exhausted come the weekend, and we spoke about this briefly, but I think the audience will be so Dave Matthews played on Friday night in MSG, and I did have this inclination. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I am ear to the ground with the band, and I follow them, and they mean a lot to me. And I look into a lot of things. I read a lot of things, but I just had this feeling they were going to play with Dave Matthews. And my wife, she didn't necessarily agree. Middle of the week, and I said, "Yeah, it makes sense. Ridgefield, Connecticut. They're in New Jersey on Saturday." I said I wouldn't be shocked at all. So they did wind up playing with Dave Matthews. I was not in attendance. It would have been an amazing, epic show to see them come out and play with Dave. Would have been really cool. They did The Wait. They did All Along the Watchtower, and they did Lie in Our Graves. Really good. Watched the videos, but had a ticket. Sold the ticket the last minute because wanted to make sure my wife was feeling up for Saturday's Red Bank show. She wasn't 100% all week. That's why she didn't join me in Ridgefield. So she didn't necessarily feel great, and I felt bad leaving for a third time in the week. So I didn't go, and now I will live with regret for at least another year.
Yeah, I'm sharing photos here of the Dave Matthews, Sanjay, Suchek, and Taylor Hill. I think they're Dave's Matthews photos banned, actually, maybe from his social media.
Okay.
But yeah,
what's really cool is because obviously his fan base is fanatics and maniacal as well, right? So I guess they have like live feeds where you could watch like any of their shows. So my wife was watching the show, and she looks over at me and she goes, they're there. I go, who's where? She goes, Tedeschi's in MSG with Dave, right? I go, I just had this feeling. All good. Nothing we could do about that now.
Yeah, there may have been hints. I don't know I think you must be Michael, but it's one of the fan groups on Facebook where Big Bob Tees did drop some hints about some of the things that the band is up to as far as like the Dave Matthews and the Eagles things. Didn't totally give it away, but thinly veiled hints can be found.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that, or else I mean, like I said, Adam, I guess I didn't see any writing on it. And it was a Jam-based article, but they said that Tedeschi had done a private show at Cipriani's in New York City on Thursday night for cancer research. But I had seen the Ridgefield news came out. Obviously, the Red Bank news came out, but I didn't see anything prior to the show that they were in New York City on Thursday doing the show. So, I mean, if I knew they were in NYC on Thursday and then Dave was playing Friday, I would have been even more inclined. Like, this is definitely happening. But still wouldn't have changed much. And got to see them twice this week. I can't really be too down.
Yeah, dude, in small theaters too.
Yeah,
it's great.
If any music can cure cancer, it would be this band.
I love that. That's a great tagline for the research program.
I'll say that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool that they played with.
But that must have been a super member only, like no outside people, because like I said, I saw nothing on that. Nobody was talking about it. Tickets were probably astronomical in New York City because everything's astronomical.
Well, it's probably a fundraiser invite,
absolutely.
A fundraiser invite only or something, I guess.
Yeah. But I can imagine what the ticket price on those were. If Ridgefield was $300 and change, and then New Jersey was the same. So I'm assuming that Cipriani's event was probably pretty pricey.
No, cancer is in trouble. I'm just gonna say that. I'll stop now. Let me pull up this. Where's the set list for? Here we go. All right. For you, Mike, you were not at.
I was not
at Red. I wanted to ask you. Was what I was talking to Randy about you was that because you said you've been following this band and Susan Derrick since like 2004 or something. So you've been to. I'm guessing it sounds like you said 2, 3, 4 shows a year. So that's dozens of shows at the very least. Yeah. And was this the first interaction you had with Susan and Derrick recently, or
first ever? Yeah.
But you've been to dozens of shows beforehand.
Dozens. And again, I will.
Funny.
I kind of lucked into. I was actually, walking out, and I looked over. I was kind of looking for their bus, and I didn't see a bus. And I see Brandon out smoking after the show, smoking a cigarette, and so I was like, "Fuck it." Walked over to him. Sorry for the language, but walked over to him. Was like, "Hey man, great show," And so I was talking to him. Sorry, those are my dogs. And just like talking about, whatever. And I don't know, the garden parties came up, and he was like, I'm like, "How was that?" I'm like, "Your first time playing like MSG?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, when would I have played MSG before?"
Well, you don't know. You're just
a sports guy, and he's like sitting in, Madison Square Garden, the Boston Garden. looking up at the rafters. I'm like, he's like, yeah, it was a little, it was overwhelming. He's like, I guess they're so used to playing in small places. But yeah, no. So I kind of said to him, so we had a nice convo, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave this guy alone. So I just kind of turned around. I'm like, where's the after party? Because I always see things posted like, there's always somewhere, they have to go.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
And he's question. Like, I don't know, tequila something in Ridgefield. And so I was like, so I went over there, and
this is so funny, full circle. Before the show started, my buddy said he lives in the area of Ridgefield, and he said, if you're going to get a bite to eat, he said, go to Tequila. I think it's called Mockingbird. And he said, and then that's funny because if that's the place that you're saying they were at afterwards, it's just a great full circle. I didn't wind up going, but I promise you where I'll be next time in Ridgefield.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that the band's doing the after party there and the food's good.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to a couple I met, actually, as a brother and sister at the bar, kind of like, I hear the band's going to be here, and they're like, they're going to be here, and they're like, how do you guys know? And they're like, we know. I don't know, but Laura from Long Island, from Strong Island, she was up there, and so she and I were kind of, she was over talking to Derek, and we were kind of just talking to them, kind of like starstruck, like to fanboy and fangirl, 50-year-old fanboy, and she's probably younger, but and 40s and 50s fanboy fangirl, just like, but it was so cool because they were just they were just amazing, and again, my favorite band turned out to be awesome people too. That was like the best part of the whole night.
Yeah, there were the rare exceptions to the along the lines of the people say, oh, don't meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you kind of thing. But I haven't really yet to hear anyone in the TTB circles speak to that experience. Was the kitchen still open at the bar restaurant Tequila Mockingbird when people got there?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, I'm asking all the hard hitting important questions.
Some things did get fuzzy, I will admit.
Bands, but the band's got to eat after the show, I think. So they're going to want to go unless they ate backstage, but they're probably going to want to go somewhere.
They definitely, there was definitely food, So I imagine whoever set it up was like, yeah, we're going to come by and keep the kitchen open a little late. But yeah, like you guys said before, it was kind of an early. I was a little surprised at how short it was. I haven't even mentioned to Brandon. I'm like, it was kind of a short show, huh? He's like, I don't know. I just do what I told. And maybe because I get, like I said in my text earlier, like, they have a connection to these places, so maybe whatever their number is that they normally book for, they took half. Kind of like. So they're like, all right, we're going to do a shorter show. It's only going to be 2 hours. It's not going to be our normal 3-hour blowout, But, that might be part of the deal, maybe for fundraisers or for, the Fireside. I think the Fireside, I know you guys are trying to retrace it, but I think that started during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Right. The video, this series, I think it was on Nugs where they aired the original.
Yeah, but they did have some live shows. And I went to a show.
After that, I think those were probably either later in 2021 or into 20. With the scale back lineup.
It was 21. I saw them Fireside in New Haven at the Westfield Bowl, and it was they just didn't want to have as many people on stage with COVID and so it's like, but like these guys are traveling and touring together, but too many people on stage is gonna do it. Like it's crazy, right? Crazy when we think back, right? But they did the Fireside starting in COVID just because. For probably again for a multitude of reasons.
It's cool that it's something that has continued, and it's been something that they could kind of lean on if because they could still do shows. Like let's say they don't have something on the calendar, and oh shit, Alicia can't do it, and Mark can't do it.
Me and my wife were saying
not available. It's more flexibility.
Kebby doesn't have anything with his kids ever, or any they have other lives. Yeah, it's like we're always like nobody gets sick in the band. They never cancel a show because somebody's not feeling well. But they have 12 members, and everyone's everyone's sick. The kids are sick. Everybody's always sick, but they're never sick. 12 people in the band.
Right.
We want to have 300 nights a year, 250 nights a year and every show is an evening with Tedeschi Trucks with all 12 all the time. But the fact that like there's so many things up in the air and so many variables, and they're playing all these different types of show and venues and places, it does make it kind of interesting and exciting to follow the band as we, follow along their journey. All going from MS. I mean, they just played Madison Square Garden, and now we're talking about a show in a fucking high school auditorium.
So that's what the playbill read, Adam, from Ridgefield. It said 6 weeks ago they sold out MSG, and basically tonight they're fucking playing our place. Like, can you believe this shit? That's basically what the playbill said from the place. Like, yeah.
Comedians will say like, "Where did I go wrong with my life?" That's kind of how they joke around when you're a comedian and off the beaten path. Venue. We should get into Red Bank though. I'm gonna pull up the set list. I've Got a Feeling, Don't Let Me Slide, Don't Drift Away, Gin House Blues, Smoke Ring Halo, Stand Back, Idle Wind, Just Won't Burn, Keep on Smiling, Got My Mojo Working, Don't Think Twice, Leaving Trunk, Let Me Get By, and then Gilded Splinters for the encore. I like this set list. Just to give my reaction, and I'll hand the floor to you, Randy, and of course Mike, you can jump in of course as well anytime you want. But the fact that we get I've Got a Feeling, which they haven't played much. The Don't Let Me Slide, they haven't played much. Don't Drift Away, they haven't played as much lately.
It was
Gin
all
House,
right. Yeah.
Smoke Ring, all these songs. It was even like they've pulled back a little bit. They've either pulled back on Keep on Smiling for the last few shows, or Mojo they pulled back and they're bringing it back in. It's like they always have. They have a very good. They have a pulse on. Derek especially, I guess, has a pulse on like just what the band is playing lately. I don't know, just for like fans that listen to all the archive.org tapes and follow all the set lists and access as much of the live shows as we can. It's like they really, really do keep it fresh, and what we want to hear, or at least what I want to hear, is whatever the thing is that they haven't played in a while or haven't been playing as much lately. That's along with whatever the band really wants to play, of course. But the fact that you get like Don't Drift Away, we haven't gotten in a while, and that's a cool one. But I'm gonna give it to you.
You could be more right, Adam. It's I feel like, so I don't know, maybe there's some more firesides they've planned that I have no idea about and that nobody knows, and they're in these small towns. But I think it's the last show of 23. I mean, they don't have anything on the calendar. There's nothing, but that
private secret shows. We don't know.
There's a possibility. I look at it like this: if this is the last show they had in 23, the band, and like you said, Derek, who makes the set list, was like, we're playing what we want to play tonight, and we love I Am the Moon. We made I Am the Moon. We're not doing any I Am the Moon tonight. We're doing older stuff. This is what we're in the mood to play tonight, and I hope everybody's down for the journey. That's how I felt, because it was. I'm a monster Beatles fan. My kids' middle names are named after the Beatles. So when they kick off with I Got a Feeling, and I don't think the last time I heard it was at the Orpheum last December. So a year, and I've been to this Fireside in Red Bank was Sweet 16 for the year for me.
Nice.
So it was a crazy year. So blessed. I live in a place that's very accessible in Long Island. So I get any of the New York City shows. I get the Ridgefield, Connecticut show. I get the Red Bank show, the Newark, New Jersey show, Bridgeport, and then we fly. We fly to Ryman, flew to Red Rocks, drove to Toronto with my whole kids and everything for their first show. And I flew to Chicago. So really, they got me doing, addiction-like behavior. It's like, I'm waiting for the intervention with the family. But when you get I Got a Feeling, and I'm a huge Beatle guy, that started off, I'm like, this is, a great night. Yeah, just really good.
I've never seen them do that live, and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh man.
I'm just thinking about it right now in this moment. The very first Tedeschi Trucks band show, and I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast over the years, but was the in LA, it was the King of the Blues like guitar shredding competition thing, and it was like and Joe Bonamassa was a judge, and TTB played like a set. I didn't even know what to expect or what it was. I didn't even know much about TTB at the time, but I remember Mike, I remember Derek and Susan, and I'm sure Mark was there too. I think it was the very early TTB in 2010. But I remember them playing I've Got a Feeling in that set, and I'm like, okay, I'm in, like, because that was, that's one of my favorite Beatles songs of
Well-
all time, certainly. So that totally sold me. Like with each passing, year from 2010 on, late 2010 on, obviously I've grown to love this band
Well, I think
more and more.
the first iteration was they called it the Soul Stew Revival.
Right.
And they played, and I saw them in Bridgeport, down kind of by the park, right on the water. And then one of Bobby and Phil played right after them, and they both played, and they got up on stage with them. But I think it was just a combination of both their bands. Oteil was in it, Kofi was in it. I forget who else was in it, but definitely, and Mike Madsen was still there, kind of. That was Derek's lead. So, that there was kind of trying to figure out the combinations. I think that's the first time I remember seeing them. I think they just didn't know what to call themselves. So this is called the Soul Stew Revival, and it was basically both of their bands. They just combined them together. But yeah, that goes back a ways.
I don't remember what it was, but at the House of Blues in LA, which doesn't even exist anymore, but it was definitely Susan, Derek, and Mike were there, and they definitely played. I've got a feeling. I'm going to ask around because I know some other people who were at that show, and they might remember more. I'll try to dig up my ticket stub or more info about that. But this is just a stellar set list.
Yeah, Adam, don't drift away. I don't think I've seen Don't Drift Away in years. I don't know. I mean, I probably have. Sometimes what happens is I'll go back and I'll look at the show I was at and I'll go, they did that show. I feel like I would have said I didn't think I ever heard them do that. And they're all kind of blending in, but Don't Drift Away. It had been it had to be 20 shows in between before I've heard it again. Awesome.
I haven't dove too much into what's on YouTube or whatever as far as what's been put out from the show video wise. YouTube Tedeschi Trucks Band search results recent uploads. But I hope someone recorded this show. I don't know if you can speak to if you saw anyone taping any of the.
Yeah, I'd be surprised after seeing the audio from the Connecticut show. I'd be surprised if there was nobody there. Usually with that, especially I feel like you get tapers a lot in like that in the Northeast where they have a big presence. I feel like the tapes come out. I'd be surprised. I haven't had the chance either today. I drove back from Red Bank this morning. Picked my kids up from where they were at cousin's sleepover, and then just try to catch up from then on. So I haven't been able to check out the YouTube stuff, but I'm sure at some point tomorrow, instead of working, I'll take some time to do that.
Yeah, fall into the black hole. I'm glad there are more people out there that do that besides me. So.
Oh, you do? You record shows also? I probably
no. They fall into the black hole of YouTube and just.
I thought. Yeah, I'm like, thank you for
Tedeschi Trucks Band stuff.
Yeah, I try to have. I think I have it saved. It's where you just click on this favorites and it just sorts, just like pulls up recent videos essentially.
Adam, there was a guy that was right in front of me yesterday in Red Bank who was taking incredible video, but not like like personal. But said he was a professional. And the pictures he was getting were so incredible. I asked him for his name because he said he has everything on his Facebook, but honestly I couldn't remember and I didn't write it down. So I don't know how I'm gonna go about trying to get. But I was watching him video a bunch because you could tell he knew what he was doing. And he was getting these incredible shots. Just like really some of the best pictures I've seen yet of Tedeschi. This guy was really good.
Does the band, I wonder if the band ever looks, I mean, obviously people show them, but do they actually look at videos and photos of themselves very often and go back and watch stuff? Other than like listening back for quality control
probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
My wife and I, we're driving yesterday to Red Bank, and we're in the car. We're listening to Tedeschi. I think I had like the best of Europe on or whatever, my Nugs, download from them for the one a year or something. And I said, what do you
That
think?
was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, amazing, right? So and then the best of the Beacon, right? The best of Europe, really good stuff. So I'm like, what do you think they're listening to? They're not listening to themselves. And she's like, no, they're listening to, like, when they give interviews and they're like, well, who's in your on your player right now? And it's like they name 15 artists and I've heard of one of them. And I'm like, Jesus, I want to listen to who they're listening to.
They listen to themselves when the music is very, very new and it's fresh. And it's like I think Kebby said, is like, yeah, I was driving around listening to like I Am the Moon or whatever.
Yeah.
But like when they were like basically still kind of like finalizing and working on it. But listening to it as a fan, that was kind of clear, I think, too, from what I recall. Is like, there is that window where I think a band can listen to their music and kind of step beyond it and be like, oh, this is super cool as a music fan. Like, I'm into my own music. I don't know, not in an egotistical
Yeah.
Kanye way or something.
Yeah, no,
like that,
I feel like Derek's not listening to himself going, you hear right here on this solo how I destroyed this. Like that's not what
he could and should and would if I would.
100%, but you think he does? There's no way he does that.
I bet you he's self-critical and he says, shit, I missed this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the band's images I think that I'm sharing right now of that they shared on there.
You always see it at the shows and when you watch the videos because they obviously zoom in, right? So you always see Derek's facial expressions and he just like he nods and the other band members know what to do. But when you're like that super close and you see him nod, I'm like waiting, like, is there anything else? And that's it. He just kind of gives the look over to Mike and I'm waiting. I'm like, is that like, if this was bringing the lefty out of the bullpen, like they make more of a symbol than Derek does to get his point across. It's so unspoken about and amazing to watch the chemistry.
Yeah. What was this? It was one of the first. What was the All My Brothers song they did?
They did Just Stand Back, or which night?
No, in Ridgefield.
Done Somebody Wrong?
Done Somebody Wrong, and kind of like he was playing his guitar solo, and you see Gabe was like waiting for his time, and he just kind of gave him like a little. Had his back to him, and he kind of gave him a little just head nod, and boom, Gabe jumped in with the verse, and I mean, I think Gabe and he does the Allman songs great. I think
really, yeah, he's like Greg Allman channel. It's amazing, really good, really good. They did they did Stand Back, which they've done a bunch this year. They brought that back into the fold in Red Bank, and then they did Idle Win, which I hadn't heard them do in. It has to be 10 shows. It was awesome, really cool. I feel like that's a lot of people's favorites that are like longtime Tedeschi fans. Really good. Just Won't Burn was awesome, Susan, like usual. She's done it a bunch this year with the 25th anniversary. And then Keep On Smiling is like one of my wife's favorites, especially obviously over this last year. They've been playing it. But I mentioned on the last cast, her dad listened to that Wet Willie song growing up. So she actually wants to get the Keep On Smiling tattoo, which just a good homage to the band as well as her dad, which she just, really cool. Mojo, they did Mojo and Smoke Ring Halo were the two songs they did both shows, Ridgefield and in Red Bank.
Yeah, and I think they did a Mojo at the Bridgeport show, right?
That's what they opened with, yeah. So they did that and Smoke Ring Halo at both shows, but everything else was unique. Don't Think Twice again. I mean, if you look back at the set list, has she played Don't Think Twice this year? I mean, I don't know.
A little bit less of it this year, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit less. Back.
Leaving Trunk, always awesome. Yeah, just killed that. I didn't know if they were going to go into volunteered slavery, and I feel like he teased it a little bit, but then he went into Let Me Get By, which I don't think anybody in the place was upset about.
I feel like there's been more and more teases, and especially from Derek over the last year of shows. And I think part of it is they just have too many songs to choose from, even beyond their own, originals. It's like the tease. Obviously, we got like the we can't always get a full Little Martha intro to Midnight Harlem, but we're almost getting like a Midnight. Little Martha silent, like we're getting different.
Or you get the you don't get the full Sugar Ray always, obviously after Angels. So it's like, yeah, you can't do every song in its full every night, right? Like they have more material than that. You're never going to be able to play everything to its entirety of how
would they ever? Yeah, I was going to ask.
You're used to seeing it. It's like, oh, I'm used to them doing this though. Afterwards, it's like, okay, so what does that mean to you? Like,
I was gonna ask, would they ever do a medley of their own songs?
Right.
Like, I guess they do the Sly medley, but that's kind of they do almost like the full versions of those songs.
Like if you see like when he does Passaquan, sometimes he throws in some Mountain Jam Sly. Teases.
Right. There's some teases.
Like Memory Liz. Speaking of teases, and now I guess we're getting into kind of the nitty gritty detail of. I think it was in Any Day. I think I heard a George Harrison tease. I think it was Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. In the Any Day. And
from
Japan? I heard it during the concert.
And anyhow, in Ridgefield.
Yeah, in Ridgefield.
Oh, anyhow.
And it lasted like 20. I'm sorry, and anyhow. Yeah, and it lasted like 10 or 20 seconds. But I went back and listened to it over and over, and I'm like, am I thinking too much about this, or am I? But it is George Harrison's birthday's coming up in a couple weeks.
Well, and like we were talking about the sit-ins, right? So Derek, right, with MSG. I think he just loves that, like exactly what we're talking about. He did the sit-in with Dave Matthews, and that night they did, Come Together. They did not TDB, but Dave did it with Trombone Shorty. But like, I feel like the sit-ins and the different music from all these other legends, I feel like he really loves and appreciates playing some of their songs, playing with Dave Matthews. I didn't realize that Dave Matthews and Susan known each other for like 25 years, it said on one of the videos, which I was really surprised. I thought they maybe the last few years they met up somewhere, but it's really long. And then it started this year in February, right, at the Ryman, when Derek went to play over with Billy Strings, and when he was playing over at the Bridgestone Arena, and I feel like Derek's done like 5-6 sit-ins this year now with Trey, and then Trey back with them and all the Garden shows. And I think that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. You have these massive audiences, 18,000 at the Garden, all these sit-ins, cool. But then you could also see them in a 500-person setting. Like, right. Like I don't know any other band that I have buddies that huge Pearl Jam fly over the country. Pearl Jam playing 500-person seat anywhere ever? No way. It's just it's just not happening.
Yeah, we don't realize how special it is when you put it in those terms, especially. And I think what you're speaking to also is how when Derek, Susan, members of TTB, when they play these other gigs and shows with these other musicians and get to play songs outside of the TTB vein, so to speak, it almost can reinvigorate or renew their interest in some regard to, in some of these songs. Like when they did that show at the BB King Museum tribute thing in, what was it, Mississippi or Alabama? Where in the South somewhere? I forget exactly
at the Cap, right?
No. It was in the South at some small like bar venue that attached to the new BB King Museum. But that's when they started to bring back the Got My Mojo working. And since they played it just Susan and Derek messing around, I think at that show, from what I understand, that's when it started to jump into TTB set lists. And the same thing kind of happened with what was the other song that they the Bex Bolero when they did the trip when they
went over to
right and then
right.
So Derek came back he came back to the U.S. and he brought back with him on his flight the idea to bring Bex Bolero into the set lists. So when they do these other shows, they're kind of like they get re-energized with maybe old music that they, I don't know, I'm not gonna say forgot about, but like remembered how fun it is to play, I guess. Sure. I guess I don't know his history with Bex Bolero. Maybe he's never played it before at shows.
I'm not sure if he did, but Clapton asked them to come out to London. And they did the Crossroads show with Clapton for a while. And then Derek toured with Clapton, I think 2008 for a year. So, I mean, that was a Clapton Clapton wanted the two of them there because because I think he understood that these two, and guys, the great thing about those Crossroads thing is like, in those ones in like the mid 2000s, 2007, 2010, you had some of the real older blues guys that, Clapton and Winwood and all these guys really respected, but they could tell that the next generation of guys like Susan and Derek, like Bonamassa, and they were just kids, they were 27, 8 years old. And yeah, so I mean, I think that was kind of a special favorite to Clapton, but apparently some of the other Ronnie Wood and Rod Stewart, they had never played with. They were blown away by both Derek and Susan. They were like, "Holy!"
Right. That's exactly. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say it. Like,
I wonder if we have the same thought right now with the Rod Stewart.
We do.
Rod Stewart. I'm thinking they're at Albert Hall. Rod Stewart's there. Do you think he says to them, "You guys should do "Stay With Me" by Space"? I think you guys would kill that version of it. Like, how do you think that? Do you think that them hanging out with him, doing that tribute, inspired them to do
exactly?
A song?
That's I didn't even think of the "Stay With Me." Another song that came out of that.
Which song were you going with?
No, that's what I was gonna say. Is that? Yeah. But the point I was gonna make was that that we know how amazing Susan and Derek are, and their capabilities and their virtuosity and their musicianship, because we listen to them all day long and seen them a billion times. But Rod Stewart, like, even though he's like an icon and in the music industry and knows who Susan and Derek are, I'm sure, and I'm sure he's heard their music too, but he's not as familiar as I am, as Mike is, as Randy is. So when he hears it, he's totally floored in a way that almost like is fun, really fun for me and for us to see. Like, that's why I love talking to like Mike and meeting new people, like just to like that enthusiasm for the music is infectious, whether it's coming from the fans or from an icon, iconic.
I mean, could you
legend
imagine
like
how that conversation went when Clapton says to Rod Stewart or to all these guys, all the Brits from the 60s and 70s, and said, "You never heard this kid play? You got to hear this kid play." Kid, he's 40 now, but like, you got to hear this guy play. He's going to do Beck's Bolero, and it's going to knock your tits off. It's like, this kid is going to be this is going to be the best Jeff Beck kind of impression or tribute you're ever going to do. You're like, okay, we'll see. It's Jeff Beck. How are you going to And I mean, I've always loved that song, and Derek's version is right there.
It's definitely take right. They almost always do "I Want More" with it now, and now when they do "Soul Sacrifice," they go back to that at some point, right, Adam? It's like you're gonna be like, "Oh man, I always loved that Santana." Like, it just you'll love it too, and they'll go back to start doing that in a year back to that or something, right?
Or figure out a way that they can do maybe both, but maybe not. But they're willing to try things. Yeah. Certainly,
it's so cool. Yeah,
I saw them do "Soul Sacrifice" at this one of the Fireside sessions. I was there with my cousin Andrea, and I think my friend Laura from Long Island was there too. So
where in Long Island? Because I'm in Long Island. Do I have to meet Laura?
You probably do, but I'll let her reach out to you.
Work that offline. Do that.
He's like, I won't even mention town. That might be too much info. Yeah.
There was
don't text yourself.
They played. It was in August, and they played at this little golf club. I can't remember the name of it. It was set up like there were maybe 20 tables. It was like Medville or some Mercerville was like somewhere there. But they did "Soul Sacrifice," and it just crushed. And again, this was like literally at a golf course. I think it was a public golf course. They put up a tent, and they stuck tables and a stage in there. And that's that was where they played during the pandemic. But, again, "Soul Sacrifice." I think it was probably "Soul Sacrifice" and "I Want More," or whatever their combo is. But yeah, no, it's sick when they kind of, it's kind of like they always have their own music. There's usually one Allman Brothers song in there. There's usually two hardcore blues song in there that Susan, like a soft one and a slow one and a fast one.
There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure. And then as soon as you think you have it figured out, like the guy next to me in Red Bank was going, huge Allman Brother guy. He was so cool. We were talking. It was a big Allman crowd yesterday in Red Bank. And it always is, obviously. But I mean, I feel like the Allman Brothers shirts were out like everywhere. Like you might have thought you were at an Allman Brothers show because of how much like market it was visible. It was definitely visible. And I'm there a bunch. It was cool. The guy next to me was like, you think we're going to get an Allman tonight? I go, I do. I think we'll get an Allman tonight. It was Stand Back, right? But then he goes, they usually do a Clapton song too, right? I said, they did 2 the other night, so I'm going to go with them not doing one. And they didn't do one, but as soon as I think I have anything like method figured out, you know nothing. You know, that's the beauty of it, the surprise.
There's a method. I was gonna say there's a method to the madness, and there's a structure, and there's a thought. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, but there's not a formula. It's not necessarily not in the strictest sense, certainly.
Yeah. Adam, you asked me this question.
Absolute. Yeah.
Adam, do you have a connection to the band?
Do I have a connection to the band in terms like what like how I discovered the band originally?
No. Like, do you said have you just met them kind of personal interactions at shows, or do you kind of know?
Yeah, just I would say just like you guys, just over the years, just going to shows and saying hello afterwards, and just that's pretty much it. And from the obviously from the podcast, they've caught wind of that over the years.
Well, my question to you, Adam, on the other side of the interview was going to be have you ever had the exchange with them that you're doing the show and they're like appreciative, or they watch, or
yes.
Yeah.
I've gotten that from pretty much almost everyone in the band. That's
very cool.
That's cool. That they appreciate it. Not
everyone.
I
know we all enjoy that you do this. I assume, knowing the band, like how great of people they are, that they thought the same. But I just was wondering if you ever actually had that interaction of them, like
Susan has appreciated, has expressed appreciation for sure, and Derek and Kebby when I interviewed him did as well. And did so, and Falcon and a few, and I think a few others over the years as well. Yeah. And at the Beacon a couple of years ago, I will say that it was cool when Derek did say hello to me and did address me by my name after one of the Beacon shows. So that was cool. And I think I did have interaction with after that, where he did say in so many words that that they appreciate what I do in bringing fans together, and as have other people connected to the band, and Bobby as well. Bobby Tees
so Bobby, like I said, he said he'll be home for the holidays, and he lives like he grew up 10 minutes from where I live. So I said to him, I go, you want to go grab a slice at this great pizzeria? He goes, yeah, man, let's grab a slice. He goes, where are you at? So I said, I told him, the high school that the kids in this school district, and he goes, oh, we played them in lacrosse. I said, no, I know you're 5 minutes up the road, Bobby. But it's just so cool. Even that interaction, I left being like, oh, and at the show that Mike was at in Ridgefield, he asked me, he said, when we were talking, he goes, what's your name? I said, oh, my name's Randy, and so-and-so. He goes, I remember Red Rocks and this and that. And then I said, I'll see you in Red Bank. So he's like, but like, have a good night. And just like the acknowledgement of your name just makes you feel like, oh, I feel like I'm in. Bobby knows my name. It's cool.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I don't know, it's just a special world that we're all a part of. And like, these are like, I mean, I don't know how starstruck other people in the TTB community get, or how they're obsessed with either celebrities or athletes or other public figures. But like, I feel like for most of us, like this is our like A-list world. Like Bobby is A-list. If you're Bobby and Bob, that's like A-list in our world. And Derek and Susan and the band and everyone connected to them, and anyone connected that works for or with the band that any of us are able to rub shoulders with in some capacity, like that's all A-list, totally A-list stuff to us. All the photographers and poster artists, and
Bradley's awesome. That guy's great too.
Right? These are all like this is our little celebrity. I am trying to not. How do I combine celebrity and Tedeschi?
Celebrity ski.
Yeah, Celebriteschi. We'll work on it. It's a work in progress. What else do we need to cover from either this show or anything else you guys want to share? I don't want to.
We got a lull. We got a little bit of a lull. There's nothing until February. I'm trying not to get to that reality yet, but I think that's where we are. It's 23 is over. for their shows, and I have to look forward to the Beacon and Florida in May.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? Anything else you want to share about your experience, your week?
Funny. I mean, just was great story after great story that night. What incentivized you, I guess, this time? Because you said you never really had interactions with the band beforehand, but tonight you were just happy to see Brandon. Well, I found out about the show late. I was solo, so and again, I live 15 minutes down the road, so it was easy. It was kind of, and I've been to that place. I've been to Ridgefield, to the Playhouse. I don't know.
So they were hanging out at your neighborhood bar.
So it was it was home. I had home field advantage.
I got you. Okay.
Phenomenal.
And I was just chilling out, and they ended early. I was kind of like, all right, we'll just go and check it out, and it was whatever. Just literally, if I didn't turn around and say, hey, where's the after party, I would have been, like you said, I would have been home in my feety pajamas before 11:30. So
I wish I would have went to the restaurant. I would have been fine with the 1 o'clock arrival at the house.
Yeah. You want to hear another classic move? Another person that was at this bar, and I know my newest friend Laura is listening, but her buddy, she was there. She's like, shit, I got to teach tomorrow. And I can't remember this woman's name, but so she left. And then all of a sudden, the band shows up and they sent her a text, and she turns around. She was like, I was almost on the Throg's neck, and I turned around.
She was driving. She was driving.
And she's like, there's literally like 10 people in the band here. So
it's amazing.
It was just it was a good, just whatever. It's like hanging out with buddies.
If you cross that bridge, you're not coming back.
No. I had so much success the first night in Ridgefield, like, kind of yelling and then making eye contact or like acknowledging because it was so tiny. So then
that guy screaming, huh?
Yeah, definitely. But like the good stuff, like, Susan, not like, I'm not like the I'm not heckling the right fielder here. It's just excited after somebody's done something amazing.
Did you say like play Freebird or something like that? No.
You know what to scream, how much to scream, when to scream. You have good screaming etiquette. Like, that's not everyone does. Sometimes they overdo it. They yell too much. They do it in a way that makes it too much about themselves.
Sure, and that really, I just want, like, so we're in New Jersey yesterday in Red Bank, and I hadn't said anything all night. It was a little bigger venue, but we were actually closer than I was in Connecticut. But so at the end of the night, though, the show's just basically over. I think it was in between Let Me Get By and Gilded Splinters, the encore. Obviously they come off the stage, and I yelled, "Go Jags!" And I tell you, Derek and Susan both look me right in the eye, a big smile, and like, yes, go Jags tomorrow. I go, big win, taking them on my Survivor League. They can't lose tomorrow. And I did. I took them today. Jacksonville crushed them. I'm sure, Susan and Derek are happy, but I felt like it was the right time. 2 shows this week. It was all the Duval. It was very, it was simpatico with my Survivor pick.
I'm pretty Jaguars friendly on my Tedeschi Trucks social media stuff, despite obviously being a Jets fan. That didn't go so well today for the Jets from what I gather.
Very cool, though. You could tell they're so into it, though. Like I said, if I said 3 things that night, I didn't get a look up or anything. This one, they love the Jags commentary for sure. They're definitely full bore with the season tickets, and I met a guy, the guy that sold me the Ryman tickets. He sits next to them in Jacksonville at the season tickets. So he's met them a bunch of times, told me that the greatest people. They always sending me pictures of them with them in Jacksonville Jaguars games, and just really cool. Like, I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's just sitting next to him. I don't know if I could do a 3-hour football game and not talk about like music the whole time. And Derek's just there wanting to enjoy the football game as much as that guy's a savant when it comes to music. He's like, I'm in downtime. I just want to enjoy the game, right? I'm thinking that's how he is at the football game.
I'd be thinking of questions would come up. I would try to not ask questions, but questions would definitely probably
100%,
come up about about music. But honestly, like I just want to listen to the music more than anything. Is just see them and listen to them play and listen to the music itself more than anything. As fun as it would be, and I hope to obviously speak to Derek and Susan on the podcast at some point. You know, that would be amazing. But honestly, I just love listening to the music and watching them play it. Like that's my number one thing. Like, you know, all of us, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But on that note, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Anything else you guys want to mention or plug or promote? I don't know if you guys got anything like that, but I'll give you the floor to do that.
Appreciate the experience and the music from the band. I appreciate you, Adam, taking the time to do this because I think it's really cool for the Tedeschi platform. I mean, obviously, it's like you don't have the couch cam that Dave Matthews. I just found this out this week with them playing with like people, but you really. That's what will happen. Get more people seeing the band, talking about the band, and thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you for the time and thank you for joining me. And same to you, Mike.
Having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Good to connect. Keep me posted, guys, if you got more shows or even ideas for things you want to talk about TT, anything TTB. I'm game to discuss that for sure. But I'm going to boot you guys out of here. I'm going to do my little outro and then we could chat for a little longer if you want offline. But thank you again, guys. And let's talk soon.
Sounds good. Right. Thanks, man. Take it easy, Mike.
Peace. So there you go. Episode 134, recapping TTB at Red Bank and in New Jersey and Ridgefield Playhouse in Connecticut. Before that, talking a little bit, Derek and Susan hopping on stage at MSG with Dave Matthews Band as well this past Friday. That was super fun. Good to connect with Mike and reconnect with Randy. Just so much good stuff from this band all around. Like they said they're going to be taking some time off, but like I feel like I can't even like keep up with them like and all the shows that they're doing. Like, yeah, just I'm still listening to I'm still listening to Japan shows up. But yeah, I do hope that someone did tape Ridgefield because that was just an amazing Red Bank rather. Because yeah, that was an amazing set list. Stand Back and Don't Drift Away and Don't Let Me Slide. Wow. But yeah, hope everyone's doing okay out there. Please check out at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. Subscribe on YouTube. I'm at Adam Choit on Twitter and Instagram. AdamChoit.com for all my personal stuff. Tedeschi Trucks Podcast.com for all things related to the show. Tedeschi Trucks Band.com is the band's official website. Definitely buy tickets to. There's a few shows on the calendar for next year, so definitely look into that and get tickets for that. Buy merch. Join the Swamp Family fan club. Join that. Download the app. Kofi Burbridge Day of Service. That's November 28th. I think pretty much almost all the cities are filled up at this point. I'm going to do something about that to promote that or discuss it, at least recap it in some capacity because I'm going to be volunteering in LA with that. So I'm going to talk more about that, I'm sure, soon. But I think that's pretty much all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you as always. And let's talk soon. Peace.